This page is the front cover of 64 magazine, issue 29. Quake 2 is the big headline, posed as potentially being the title to knock GoldenEye off its perch. There's a feature on World Driver Championship, showing a screenshot of the racing action. A Bug's life is also highlighted with some cartoon characters, alongside StarCraft 64, which promises PC strategy gameplay on the N64. Smaller mentions include Star Wars, Episode 1 Racer, Premier Manager, Mario Golf, Mystical Ninja 2 and Battlezone 64. There's also a free 64-page book advertised, themed around Mario Party and asking if your name is on the list. Plus, a boast of 20 packed pages of reviews inside. The next page is an advert for Quake 2 on the Nintendo 64, presented in a rather gruesome way, using imagery of raw meat to emphasize how hardcore it is, boasting, Nintendo 64's brains, eyes, guts, your soul. Simply put, this is as raw as it gets. It mentions the new levels and redesigned existing ones, plus the gritty 2 to 4 player deathmatch mode. Alongside this is a subscription advert for 64 magazine, encouraging readers to subscribe and save up to £38. As an incentive, subscribers can choose one of 8 free Nintendo games, including Zelda 64, Turok 2, GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, ISS 98, 1080 Snowboarding, Diddy Kong Racing, and F1 World Grand Prix. There's also a bonus of free secrets, strategies, solutions books for Zelda 64, As of Nintendo 64, and Banjo-Kazooie. The magazine cover shown has a headline asking, Quake 2 the end of GoldenEye, along with mentions of StarCraft 64 and 20 pages of reviews. Banjo-Kazooie is also pictured waving to encourage subscriptions. This page is the contents for issue 29 of 64 magazine, laying out what's inside. Looks like there's a feature on StarCraft 64, billing it as the first look at the N64 version of that massive PC strategy hit. Right next to it is Battlezone 64, apparently giving the old arcade classic a bit of a modern makeover. In the 64 sites section we've got a preview of Quake 2, which, if you remember the last page, was being hyped as pretty hardcore stuff for the N64. Alongside that there's Tonic Trouble, 40 Winks, Superman, and Rally Masters all getting a look in. The review section is packed as usual. Premier Manager 64 is getting a proper going over, seems like they're asking if you're better than Keegan, with a football manager bloke pictured, probably from the game. Then we've got World Driver Championship, Mario Golf, Charlie Blast's Territory, Fighting Force, Ken Griffey Jr.'s Slugfest, and even A Bug's Life getting reviewed. Regular sections include 64 Showcase, When I'm 64, Subscriptions, Nindex, and a look at the next issue. For cheats and tips, there's Game Busters with Cheat Central, Score Zone, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, Micro Machines 64 Turbo, and something called 64 Turbo. Finally, in the UK update, it's Mystical Ninja 2, starring Gomon getting some attention. Looks like a packed issue, covering a good range of games as always. 64 magazine issue 29 features a bustling summer gaming season. The editorial highlights new releases, with a sidebar covering news, peripherals, and rumors. Also from Paragon Publishing, promotes related magazines like DVD Review, covering films like Starship Troopers, and Total Games Guide, previewing games like Conker's Bad Fur Day. 64 Solutions offers N64 cheat codes. The headline announcement is Zelda 2, a sequel for the 64D add-on, potentially exclusive to Japan. Other news includes a delay for Jet Force Gemini, now part of a packed release schedule with Donkey Kong 64 and Perfect Dark. Screenshots of Die Hard 64 are revealed, alongside the announcement of Destruction Derby for the N64. Millennial Mania focuses on THQ's WWF WrestleMania 2000, promising wrestling action. The next page showcases the Game Watch section, your go-to guide for upcoming N64 titles. July is bursting with releases like Command & Conquer 64, LEGO Racers, and Quake 2. August is a bit quieter with Caesar's Palace and Hybrid Heaven. Looking ahead to September and beyond, there's a whole host of titles like 40 Winks, Blues Brothers 2000, and Carmageddon slated. There's also a section for dates to be confirmed, listing games like Eternal Darkness and Dragon Sword that are on the horizon but without firm release dates yet. Over on the right you've got the 64 magazine charts. Powered by Game, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer is still holding strong at number 1, despite some folks finding it a bit disappointing, apparently. FIFA 99 is hanging in there at number 2, and Star Wars Rogue Squadron rounds out the top 3. Zelda is still high up at number 4. The chart commentary mentions the quick turnover of games and encourages Nintendo to get their act together and release some more titles to keep things fresh. Below the charts, there's a chance to win £50 in game vouchers by predicting the top 3 games in the next chart. Finally, there's a bold advert for Premier Manager 64, billing it as the only football management simulation you'd want to play on the N64. The When I'm 64 Letters section of 64 magazine addresses various reader concerns. One letter criticizes the lack of British sports games, to which the magazine dismissively responds. Another asks about WWF Attitude features, receiving clarification on the Brood images, and WWF 2000, now WrestleMania 2000. A reader suggests demo carts to try games before buying. The magazine agrees, mentioning a Turok 2 demo and cover-mounted discs with Project Dolphin. Cheats for Perfect Dark are requested. Delays for anticipated games are discussed, impacting the N64's game selection. Another reader expresses boredom with the available games. The magazine acknowledges this, highlighting upcoming releases, and cheekily mentioning giving the reader a steering wheel. Finally, a reader inquires about third-party peripherals. The magazine notes that unofficial expansion packs and controllers are generally fine, but memory cards can be unreliable. It also confirms that the new Nintendo console, Project Dolphin, will not be backwards compatible. The page also features a prize for the star letter and a competition. The 64 Letters section tackles several reader inquiries. Sam Warner challenges the N64's kiddie label, citing mature titles like GoldenEye and Mortal Kombat, and asks about Ask Andy, cart sizes, game reviews, and Nindex split, and Diablo 64. The magazine replies, Ask Andy is replaced with expansion pack info, and Nindex split is unlikely, and Diablo 64 is off the table. They suggest Nintendo's image is self-inflicted. Another letter addresses video game violence, arguing against blaming games for real-world acts. Jonathan Brown seeks speedrunning tips for Super Mario 64's Princess's Secret Slide. Andrew Harvey praises the Score Zone section. A sidebar advertises Lode Runner 3D, promising a 3D puzzle adventure with numerous levels and interactive elements. This page is a 64-site preview for Quake 2 on the Nintendo 64, and blimey, they've given it a perfect score of 10 out of 10 already. They're clearly excited, saying it's the game to beat GoldenEye. Apparently the first Quake on the N64 was a bit of a letdown speed-wise, but Quake 2 is promising blinding speed, dazzling effects, monstrous enemies and massive guns, even 4-player deathmatch. They reckon it makes Turok 2 look a bit tame. The preview mentions the Strogg as the bad guys, Paul Daniels ugly aliens apparently, and you're a space marine blasting them with your handgun to start with. They also point out some graphical improvements, saying goodbye to the dull brown and grey corridors of the first game, replaced with more varied environments. There are screenshots showing the gameplay with the heads-up display with ammo and health counters. Little details highlighted include how enemy skins change as they take damage, and the blood splatters are done with unusual small sprites. Down the side there's a looking ahead section mentioning other games coming up like Tonic Trouble, 40 Winks, Superman and Rally Masters. Seems like a packed schedule on the N64. This page features a preview of Tonic Trouble, and it seems they're quite relieved about it. Apparently, earlier versions had camera issues, but this latest one is much improved, making the gameplay a lot smoother. The story is a bit daft but fun, about Ed the janitor who spills alien tonic on Earth, causing all sorts of trouble, and now he has to sort it out. The main objective is collecting 160 pieces of antidote to defeat Gro the Hellish, who's trying to take over the world. It's a Dreamcast-style symbol you're looking for to collect these antidote bits. Published by Ubisoft, it's due out in September '99. Alongside the Tonic Trouble preview, there's still a bit of buzz about Quake 2 from the previous page. Under a heading, Hey Joe, they're running through the weapons you get to play with, from the standard shotgun and super shotgun, to the beefier machine gun, chain gun, grenade launcher, rocket launcher, hyper blaster, railgun, and of course the BFG. They're saying the weapon effects are top-notch, and the multiplayer deathmatch is going to be a real crowd pleaser. They're still raving about how fast and smooth Quake 2 is, saying it's bleeding brilliant and packed with action, even comparing it to a James Cameron film. They're wondering if it could even knock GoldenEye off its perch, which is high praise indeed. They're promising a full review in the next issue, so we'll see then if it lives up to the hype. 40 Winks is a new N64 game with a dream theme, aimed at younger players. Players control siblings rough or tumble, rescuing 40 winks from the villain Nightcap, who has corrupted them into hoodwinks. The game features 6 diverse dream-themed levels: castle, space, pirate, underwater, nightmare, prehistoric, each with 3 stages filled with enemies. Rough and Tumble have various offensive moves. A friendly alarm clock character, named Wakey Wakey, guides players. Screenshots reveal castle and pirate ship settings, including a boss battle against Threadbare, and a jester-themed level. The game, developed by Euro.com and published by GT Interactive, was slated for a UK release in September 1999, and promises to be a classic platformer. This page is packed with cheat info and tips for over 1,000 games across N64, PlayStation, PC and Game Boy. It's advertising a premium rate phone service for cheats, hosted by someone calling themselves the Cheatmaster. They've listed a load of N64 titles. They cover cheats for games like Aero Fighters Assault, Banjo-Kazooie, Cruisin' World, Doom 64, GoldenEye, Mario Kart 64, Mortal Kombat, Star Wars Rogue Squadron, Super Mario 64, Wave Race 64 and Zelda. There's also a bit more about 40 winks. In the 64 site section, they are talking about a race mode and cooperative play being included. They are saying it's a good game for younger gamers, comparing it a bit to Banjo-Kazooie. There are more screenshots showing gameplay. Also, there's an advert for a GoldenEye walkthrough service by Cheat Mistress, and another ad for facts, cheats and tips with a competition to win prizes. Finally, there's a competition hotline advert offering prizes like a Game Boy Color, a telly, Min64, PlayStation, Dreamcast, and even a mobile phone. All the must-have tech of the time. Superman 64 for N64 is previewed, with Superman entering a VR metropolis to save Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. In this third-person game, Superman must collect power-ups for his abilities. It includes multiplayer modes, a battle mode, and a racing game. Published by Ubisoft, it's due out in July. Rally Masters, a realistic rally sim developed by Digital Illusions and published by Gremlin Infogrames, is also featured, with a release planned for autumn, TBC. It promises realistic physics and a variety of cars. Finally, there's an ad for Gadget Zone selling PlayStation and Zvorin 64 accessories, including memory cards and joypads, as well as a pocket station and a game booster. Battlezone 64, developed by Climax in Fareham, England, is a unique N64 title blending real-time strategy with first-person vehicle combat. Set in a Cold War-era moonbase in 1962, the game features a conflict between the USA and USSR over alien artifacts. Gameplay combines base building, resource management, and direct vehicle combat, offering a strategic depth reminiscent of StarCraft. The N64 version, adapted from the PC code, features 3 game modes: Arcade, Commander, Strategic, and Multiplayer for up to 4 players. The game was optimized for the N64, with missions designed and tested on PC before being ported. Control schemes were designed to mimic the feel of a Microsoft Sidewinder controller. The article promises seat-of-the-pants action, highlighting the game's intense, action-focused gameplay. Battlezone 64's gameplay focuses on strategic squad command with seamless unit switching upon destruction. Featuring 40 missions and a pitched battle 2-player mode, the game blends action and strategy. The text also mentions a screenshot featuring strange alien architecture. Developer Climax, also responsible for the PlayStation version of San Francisco Rush, even received an arcade cabinet. Meanwhile, All-Star Tennis 99 gets advertised, promising an absolute blast with an all-star cast, realistic gameplay, 3D courts, and 4-player multiplayer. The game, developed by Smart Dog and Ubisoft, is slated for release on PlayStation, N64, and Game Boy Color, and received an 89% score from N64 Pro magazine. StarCraft 64, dubbed the PC Menace, brings the hit PC real-time strategy game to Nintendo 64. This adaptation, developed by Mass Media, offers a strategic wargame experience where players build bases and armies to conquer their foes. The game features 3 distinct races: Terran, humans, Zerg, and Protoss, each with unique units and abilities. Success hinges on resource management, minerals and Vespan gas, and terrain utilization. The N64 version includes the full single-player campaign and multiplayer levels from the original PC game and its Brood War expansion. Control schemes have been adapted, using the seek buttons for commands instead of keyboard shortcuts. The game even incorporates helpful features like automated resource gathering. The article emphasizes the game's addictive gameplay, promising a compelling strategy experience, despite its different genre, compared to popular N64 titles like GoldenEye. This page continues the StarCraft 64 feature, and it's having a good chinwag about the alien races. First up, the Zerg, described as slimy and organic, inspired by HR Giga no less, focusing on how they evolve buildings, rather than construct them. The article highlights the Queen unit, calling it a terrifying air-based critter. Then it moves on to the Protoss, a proud warrior race, all tradition and honor, mentioning their units are pricey but tough thanks to their shields, and going on about the Archon, a glowing ball of blue light, being a right powerhouse. It also mentions, mass media reckon StarCraft 64 will be out in October, and 64 magazine are going to give it a proper look in for a full review. Alongside the StarCraft bit, there's a big advert for 64 Solutions magazine, issue 12, a bargain at £3.95. It's promising solutions for Star Wars Racer, Mario Party, and Beetle Adventure Racing. They're making a point about having 132 pages, more than other Nintendo mags apparently, and being sorted, with maps, hints, and push-button cheats. If you fancy ordering it, there's a form at the bottom with all the details. 64 Magazine reviews Premier Manager 64, the N64's inaugural management sim, using a detailed format. Various boxes offer key information. Ninja provides essential game data, Bottom Line Controls assesses the N64 pad, and the magazine's unique rating system utilizes controller icons for graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge. PAL Performance considers import compatibility. The $64,000 question evaluates value. Memory Options covers saving, and Supplied By suggests importers. The final score box explains the scoring system. Alternatives lists comparable games, and the rating section provides a breakdown of scores and a soundbite. Briefly mentioned are other games, like World Driver Championship, Mario Golf, Charlie Blast's Territory, Fighting Force, Ken Griffey Jr.'s Slugfest, A Bug's Life, and Mystical Ninja 2 starring Goemon. Premier Manager 64, reviewed in a 1999 issue of 64 magazine, is presented as the first true management sim on the N64. The game, developed by Gremlin and published by Infogrames, allows players to manage UK football teams, starting either in standard play or career mode from Division 3. The review emphasizes the game's depth, focusing on player fitness, training, finances, and transfers. While it utilizes the Actua Soccer 3 engine for match highlights, the gameplay leans heavily on text and statistical screens. The interface features a circular menu system accessing options, like fixtures, finances, and the transfer market. Despite the lack of visual spectacle, the review notes the game's compelling nature for stat enthusiasts. The review highlights real teams and players, but also points out a lack of customization options. Ultimately, it's recommended for players willing to invest time in a detailed management experience. Premier Manager 64, the first proper football management sim on N64, receives an 85% overall score. It garners 4 out of 5 for graphics and gameplay, and 3 for audio and challenge. A second opinion finds it dry, but acknowledges its appeal for fans of the genre, summing it up as, not for everyone, but those who like the sound of it will love it. The review details standard N64 controller layouts, and mentions alternative games like IS-98 and FIFA 99 on PlayStation. The page concludes with classic magazine advertisements. These showcase a variety of N64 games, like 1080 Snowboarding, GoldenEye, and Mario 64, along with action figures from franchises such as Zelda and Duke Nukem. They also push N64 accessories, and a South Park voice toy, plus an early Dreamcast advertisement hinting at the console's upcoming release. 64 magazine reviews World Driver Championship for N64, calling it a potential top racer. The game impresses with its visuals, realistic handling, and smooth gameplay across various modes. It boasts detailed environments and focuses on racing. Unlike Top Gear Rally, the game features real-world tracks and cars, with slight alterations. There are 6 circuits with multiple variations, spanning international locations. A controller pack is needed to save progress and replays. Handling is realistic, unlike typical kart races. The review highlights a variety of cars, each inspired by real-world counterparts. Published by Midway and developed by Boss, the game is priced at £59.99 as an import. It supports 2 players, Expansion Pack, and Rumble Pack. The summary praises visuals, handling, and gameplay, but critiques the AI and lack of thrills, ultimately questioning its ability to deliver an adrenaline-pumping experience. World Driver Championship on N64 is reviewed, earning a 79% overall score. While praised for its graphics and audio, with top marks, the gameplay is criticized for uninspired AI opponents that feel like obstacles. The review highlights the game's split-screen two-player mode and details the standard N64 controller setup. Similar games like F1 WGP and Top Gear Rally are suggested as alternatives. The review's soundbite highlights fantastic looks let down by ordinary gameplay. A second opinion finds it slow initially, comparing it unfavorably to Ridge Racer 4, but praising its smoothness. An adjacent advertisement for gameplay promotes N64 consoles, games, including Mario 64 and Zelda 64, and accessories, along with Atari Jaguar games and gaming furniture, reflecting a classic mail-order game shop. Mario Golf on the N64 receives high praise in this review. Tom O'Connor highlights its addictive gameplay, responsive controls, and near-perfect ball physics, emphasizing features like time trials, tournaments, and a unique point system. The game includes Sonic-style hoops and psychedelic courses, offering a fun and simple experience. Roy Kimber, even as a non-golf fan, found it enjoyable, citing its user-friendly interface and Nintendo characters. The game earns top marks for graphics, audio, gameplay and challenge, resulting in an 84% overall score. Pros include its great party game potential, numerous courses, and Mario Kart. Cons include some course similarities and the inherent golf preference. Additional features include a gambling element and adjustable camera angles. Developed by Camelot and published by Nintendo, it supports up to 4 players and is compatible with expansion and rumble packs. The reviewer, under the humorous pseudonym Jimmy Tarbuck, calls it the best N64 golf game yet. This page reviews Charlie Blast's Territory for the Nintendo 64, a puzzle game where you move bombs to clear levels, drawing comparisons to Bomboozle from back in the day. It's noted as a simple concept: move bombs around, set the detonator, and watch them go off. The review points out that while early levels are easy, later ones require more thought and are timed, which might frustrate some. Despite being ultimately flawed as a puzzle game, the 4-player mode is highlighted as a saving grace, reminiscent of Bomberman but with territory control. The game receives an overall score of 68%. Looking at the ratings, graphics, audio and gameplay all get 4 out of 5 and symbols, while Challenge gets a full 5. Roy Kimber's second opinion echoes this, suggesting the single player is a bit weak, but the multiplayer is addictive, comparing it to a simplified Bomberman deathmatch. Alternatives mentioned are Loadrunner 3D and Weetrix. The soundbite sums it up as, only if you're into this sort of game. It's definitely a title that leans heavily on its multiplayer for enjoyment. Fighting Force 64 is a 3D beat-em-up featuring 4 characters, a detective, a ladies' man, a convict, and a schoolgirl. The game is essentially a 3D version of classic side-scrollers like Streets of Rage, with a story involving Dr. Zeng causing trouble. Players can use weapons like rocket launchers, and a score system unlocks new routes. The review notes the game's simple gameplay, standard urban and secret base levels, and clunky controls due to its PlayStation port. The game received a 63% overall, with graphics, audio, and gameplay scoring average. The soundbite calls it unexciting, and a second opinion finds it disappointing compared to the PlayStation version. Despite its unique position as the only game of its type on the platform, the review criticizes its repetitive gameplay and lack of thrills. Alternatives include Mortal Kombat 4, GT, and WWF Warzone. This page reviews Ken Griffey Jr.'s Slugfest on the N64. It's positioned as another baseball title and a follow-up to last year's game, but it's being compared to Acclaim's All-Star Baseball 2000, and not in a favorable light, being called its poor cousin. The review mentions the game's modes including Home Run Derby and Exhibition, and the ability to create a custom player. It notes the graphics aren't particularly detailed despite using the expansion pack, and the sound is weak. The controls are said to be complex. The game gets a 70% overall score, with average ratings for graphics, audio, gameplay and challenge. Alternatives mentioned are All-Star Baseball 2000 and All-Star Baseball 99. The $64,000 question box lists pros such as higher graphics and easy pick-up and play, but cons include limited commentary, dodgy character animation, and amusing funk music. There's a second opinion that echoes the disappointment compared to All-Star Baseball 2000. Screenshots show in-game baseball action and player creation screens. A review of A Bug's Life for the N64 describes a mixed experience. While faithful to the film with 15 levels and colorful visuals, the game suffers from several flaws. It's a standard platformer with a variety of moves, but the controls are jerky, and the gameplay is marred by pop-up and clipping issues. The reviewer criticizes the repetitive levels and poor sound quality. The game follows the movie's plot, with Flick saving his colony from grasshoppers. It introduces unique gameplay elements, such as manipulating seeds to grow plants like bouncy mushrooms and beanstalks. However, some levels are either too easy or too difficult. Despite its flaws, the game isn't the worst on the N64, but it falls short of expectations and feels like a direct port of a PlayStation version. Screenshots show Flick interacting with other characters and exploring various environments. This page continues the review of A Bug's Life on the N64, highlighting the pop-up problems, which are apparently quite noticeable and strangely selective, with objects appearing out of nowhere. The control layout is shown, detailing standard N64 controls for actions like walking, jumping, throwing berries, and camera movement. The review lists alternative games to consider instead, such as Banjo-Kazooie and Chameleon Twist 2, and gives A Bug's Life overall ratings. Graphics and audio get 2 out of 5 stars, gameplay gets 3, and challenge gets 4. The overall score is a rather lukewarm 59%. The soundbite at the end is quite critical, stating, "Nice film, shame about the game, don't do it." This 64 magazine preview focuses on the UK release of Mystical Ninja 2, starring Goemon for the N64. The game sees Goemon and his crew battling supernatural threats in feudal Japan. Unlike the first game, the sequel is structured into distinct sections, offering a more accessible experience, potentially rivaling games like Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie in scope. The PAL version is confirmed to be borderless and without speed issues. No expansion pack is required, and saves are stored on the controller pack. The preview emphasizes the game's addictive qualities, including Ninja Nightmares, where levels transform at night. It also showcases bizarre buddies, including rideable creatures. Players control Goemon, Ebisumaru, Sasuke, and Yae, each with unique abilities. Konami publishes and develops the platformer, which was previously reviewed in Japan. It's out now, and priced at £49.99, promising a solid platforming adventure. This page continues the look at Mystical Ninja 2, starring Goemon. It's a glowing review, urging readers not to miss out. They highlight the splash, special power for Yae, where she turns into a mermaid in water. The reviewer emphasizes the addictive, faster-paced gameplay, and the excellent two-player mode. It's praised for its quirky Japanese humor and solid platforming. The game scores top marks across the board in the ratings. Graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge all get 5 stars, resulting in an impressive 86% overall. There's a handy controller layout guide, and mentions of other games, like the original Mystical Ninja and Mischief Makers as alternatives. Finally, there's an advert for the 64 magazine games, helpline for any N64 problems, covering titles from Star Wars Racer to Mario and Castlevania. The Soundbite Champions, the two-player action from those strange game designers in Japan. Cheat Central offers a collection of N64 game cheats. Fighting Force 64 has level select and invincibility. NBA Jam 99 features dunk enhancements and sillier cheats like a large ball. Ken Griffey Jr.'s Slugfest includes exploding batters, big heads, and CPU versus CPU mode, plus unlockable secret teams. WWF Attitude focuses on unlocking bonus characters by winning with specific wrestlers, with added clothing options. A Bug's Life and Superman both have level select codes. The page also includes a visual guide to the N64 controller layout, perfect for beginners. This page is the score zone from 64 magazine, issue 29 from 1999, the place to be if you wanted your N64 high scores immortalized in print. They're even giving a shout out to a Dutch reader, Mathis Tenham, for his GoldenEye prowess, declaring him the ultimate player. To get your name up in lights, you just had to send in proof of your best efforts. They've got leaderboards here for a whole host of games, covering everything from the futuristic racing of Extreme G and the space dogfights of Star Fox 64 to the roaring engines of F1 World Grand Prix and the muddy tracks of Top Gear Rally. There's also snowy slopes with Snowboard Kids, galactic adventures in Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire and Rogue Squadron, vehicular combat in Vigilante 8, party mayhem with Mario Party, and brain-teasing puzzles in Tetrisphere. Not forgetting the jet ski thrills of Wave Race 64, and naturally, the evergreen GoldenEye 007. You can spot little screenshots from some of these games, peppered around the page. It's a real snapshot of who was playing what and who was top of the N64 leaderboards back in the day, with names and locations from all over. Issue 29 Score Zone focuses on Nintendo 64 high scores, Banjo-Kazooie's level leaderboards, Mumbo's Mountain, Treasure Trove Cove, Click Clock Wood, Kick Things Off, followed by Zero X, Mute City, Devil's Forest, and Mario Kart 64, Luigi Raceway, Kalimari Desert, Diddy Kong Racing, Ancient Lake, Fossil Canyon, Hot Top Volcano is also featured. Other games highlighted include Micro Machines, 64 Turbo, WWF Warzone, Mischief Makers, and 1080 Degrees Snowboarding. Quake 64 receives significant coverage with level times. The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time showcases fishing and riding records. Wii-Trick scores are also included. The issue promotes the Ultimate Player competition, offering a Trident pad and memory card as prizes. This page is an advert from Sex Direct Mail Order, flogging a load of second-hand games and consoles. They've got gear for PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and of course Nintendo 64. They're pushing a Dreamcast special offer too, bragging about importing them early and selling them cheap. Looking at the N64 bit, they're selling both new and second-hand consoles and accessories boxed and unboxed, different regions, memory expansion packs, rumble packs, all the usual bits and bobs. For games, there's a massive list of second-hand N64 titles. You can see classics like 1080 Snowboarding, Aero Gauge, All-Star Baseball, Beetle Adventure Racing, Bomberman 64, Castlevania, Clay Fighter, Doom 64, Duke Nukem 64, for Zero X, GoldenEye, Hexen and loads more. It's a proper blast from the past seeing these titles listed with their prices. Seems like they are offering good deals if you're after some retro games. They are also keen to buy your old games for cash or exchange, so a typical second-hand game shop setup. This guide offers tips and information for the Star Wars Episode 1 Racer game. It covers all the planets, including Tatooine, Aquilaris, and Gorindo Prime, and more, each with unique environments and hazards. The guide provides cheat codes like RR Jabba for invincibility, RRDE Bug for a debug menu, and character unlocks. It also details how to perform turbo starts and taunt opponents. Crucially, the guide emphasizes the importance of upgrading your podracer, listing available parts like repulsor grips, thrust coils, and injectors, along with their prices. This information is key for players seeking to improve their racing performance. This guide offers track tips for Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, focusing on the Boonta training course on Tatooine and the Mon Gaza Speedway. For Boonta training, the advice centers on early boosting, navigating tight canyon sections, and recognizing opportunities for speed. The Mon Gaza Speedway is described as a short, fast track, where effective turbo starts, avoiding pillars, and boosting through tunnels are key. The guide also warns about lapping other racers. The page also includes information on racers, like the formidable Sebulba and the handling-focused but slower Team 2 Pegales. The guide provides a solid introduction for beginners looking to master these two tracks. Danara. This page of the magazine continues the look at Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, focusing on two more tracks this time. We've got Bedo's Wild Ride, which is Race 3, and still in the amateur bracket, set on and Norsa has many Prime. It's a glacier-type track, and the guide mentions it's pretty straightforward, but watch out for ice formations. Tips include weaving around the statue at the start, being careful on the bridge corner, and taking a shortcut by smashing through ice after the second archway. Aldar Bedo is the featured racer for this track, described as a walking pipe cleaner piloting a larger pod, good top speed and acceleration but prone to overheating. Then we have Aquilaris Classic, Race 4, still amateur, and a Subiqua track on Aquilaris. This one's about winding passages and sunken tunnels, so be careful on those corners, even though it seems easy enough at first glance. Tips here are to stick to the left at the start, navigate the underwater tunnels, and use rock ramps to jump over pods. You also need to watch out for sliding doors in one tunnel section and take a hard left after the dry land section. Clegg Holdfast is the race favourite for Aquilaris, but it's not exactly a glowing recommendation, saying his pod is sluggish with bad acceleration and handling, making it a nightmare to race with. So maybe give him a miss. This guide details two tracks from Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, Malastare 100 and Vengeance. Malastare 100, a nighttime race on Malastare, requires navigating foggy gas lakes, utilizing dirt ramps for shortcuts, and mastering a three-path tunnel with a central pillar. It culminates in a tricky hairpin turn before the finish line. The race favorite, Dudbolt, is described as a poor choice due to his pod's weak turning capabilities. Vengeance, set on Ovo IV, is a challenging prison colony track. It demands precision through tight sections, hazardous obstacles, and rotating gates. The track includes anti-gravity tubes, with floating debris and electric beams. Following the tube are dark sections and pillars, after which the course returns to a dirt track leading to the finish. Fudsang, the race favorite, has a small pod that has poor turning ability and is also someone who might not be cut out for pod racing. This guide for Star Wars Episode 1 Racer covers 2 tracks, Spice Mine Run and Sunken City. Spice Mine Run, a nighttime track on Malastare, emphasizes navigating sudden turns and utilizing shortcuts. The guide breaks the track down into 6 sections, offering tips such as using banks at the start, sticking to the left at path splits, and navigating spice fields. Mars Goa is recommended as the race favorite. Sunken City, a longer circuit on Aqualaris similar to Aqualaris Classic, features a shortcut. The guide provides 6 sections with tips on navigating sliding doors, and the shortcut involving a large brown building and barriers. Bullseye Navia, known for his traction and handling, is the race favorite for this track. Both recommended racers can be substituted using cheat codes. This page continues the playing guide for Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, now looking at 2 more tracks, Howler Gorge and Dug Derby. Howler Gorge, set on our looking guide for Star Wars Prime and a glacier-type track, is described as tricky with hard corners, where braking is essential, and the guide suggests using a shortcut if you dare. The page breaks down the track into 6 numbered sections, with screenshots showing in-game views and track map snippets. Tips include navigating early cavern elements, taking the left path in the first cavern for an easier route, using boost after a difficult tunnel turn, and using a shortcut that opens from the second lap. Rat's Tyrell is highlighted as a racer to use for this track, being a small pod with high acceleration but less handling. Moving on to Dug Derby, set on Malastare, a gas moon type track, it's described as fast but with sharp corners requiring skillful braking and sliding. Again, 6 numbered sections with screenshots illustrate the track and provide advice. Tips include being careful at the start's hairpin turn, navigating tunnels, using brakes and sliding at chicane sections, and watching out for pillars on corners. Ellen Mark is featured as the race favorite for this track, being a racer with large pod and excellent acceleration, but with average handling and turning. This page carries on with the Star Wars Episode 1 Racer playing guide, now running through Scrapper's Run and Zugga Challenge tracks. First up is Scrapper's Run, Race 4, set on Audibana. It's a floating city-type track, said to be the easiest of the floating tracks but still warning about airborne slips at high speeds. The guide breaks it down into 6 sections, showing screenshots and track snippets. Tips include navigating the narrow paths at the start, using arches for boost and banked sides in tunnels to keep speed through corners, and being careful on the suspension bridge. Juan Sandage is the recommended racer here. He's described as a bit awkward looking but with great turning and handling, even if his acceleration is a bit lacking. Turning over to page 79, we're on to Zugga Challenge Race 5, on Mongaza. This one is a mining colony type track, and is described as the final Mongaza course, mixing elements from previous tracks there. Again, there are 6 sections with screenshots and tips. The advice covers following the original speedway track at the start, navigating a sandy side tunnel, going under cranes, handling tight neon tunnel corners, using lava tunnels, and finally managing a jump and chicane near the finish. Bol's Roar is the race favorite here, depicted as just average in all areas: pod size, handling, turning, acceleration, and top speed. Apparently he's just average all round. This guide covers 2 tracks in Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Baru Coast, page 80, a swamp track on Barunda, is considered deceptively easy. Tips include full speed starts, navigating bridges and jumps, leaning on narrow paths, and preparing for corners and pillars near the finish. Neverkey, with a nimble pod, is a recommended racer, despite his low acceleration. Bumpy's Breakers, page 81, an underwater track on Aqualaris, is a tougher challenge with slow turns and hairpins. Tips include careful boosting, jumping, braking for hairpins, and navigating a waterfall path. Arc Bumpy Roos is the race favorite, ironically known for his poor pod performance, requiring upgrades to be competitive. This guide focuses on the final levels of Micro Machine 64 Turbo, specifically Must Try Harder and Back End Roll. Must Try Harder, a school-themed track, challenges players with a 48.85 second target time, emphasizing staying on the table and precise cornering. Key strategies include skidding after bridges, using flame burst strategically, navigating tricky bookline tunnels, and cautiously traversing book piles and lunchbox bridges. Players must also carefully manage the ruler section and the final stretch near a stapler, books and ramps. Back-end roll, set in a pool hall, requires a 2 minutes 2 seconds and 76 milliseconds finish time and utilizes rockets and mines. Players should prioritize a quick start, navigate the initial turns and a card jump. Then they should carefully handle the book bridge and ruler sections, slowing down before the end. Finally, the guide suggests racing past dice and prioritizing mines near the finish line. This page continues the playing guide for Micro Machines 64 Turbo, now moving on to the master levels. First up is Hair of the Dog, a breakfast-themed track for the Rattler, with shield, flame burst and rockets power-ups available. The target time is 1 minute 41.45 seconds. Tips include navigating the initial hairpin bend carefully due to the Rattler's handling, using momentum to slide around loops after the second hairpin, and using rockets on the long straight following. Next is Pulling Power, a laboratory track for the 60s F1 car, featuring rockets and shield power-ups with a target time of 1 minute 43.14 seconds. The guide advises a good start but warns of a narrow route ahead, recommending care when overtaking. It highlights a swift chicane around a computer, hitting a substance to catch opponents out, and using rockets to blast rivals. Finally, Rock Hard is featured, set at Rock Hard level. This level provides no specific car or power-up suggestions, and no target time is listed. The guide recommends avoiding pushing past other cars at the start, and letting others lead through a narrow chalk path. It then advises using playing cards to get onto the table, taking corners early to avoid drifting into water, and using cards to reach the next pocket. The final tip is to hit the power ramp onto the playing card to reach the finish line. This guide covers the rock-hard difficulty tracks in Micro Machines 64 Turbo. Biohazard, Laboratory, uses the hot rod with grabber and rockets. Key strategies include using the teleporter, avoiding invisible ink, and navigating the beaker and flask sections. Pebble Dash, Beach, also with the hot rod, features Shield X2, grabber, and Molotov cocktails. Tips include pushing competitors, utilizing the picnic rug, and braking at the bottle chicane. Destruction Dirtbox, Garden, is for the micro, using fireball and Molotov cocktails. Strategies involve navigating the pond, pipe, and avoiding flowers. Finally, Textbook Maneuver, School, uses the Rattler. This track is notoriously difficult, requiring careful maneuvering, braking, and precision on jumps. The guide advises navigating bridges, scissors, and tables, and avoiding poor road markings. This page advertises Nintendo 64 special offers. It's all about strategy guides and magazines, mate. They're pushing these Nintendo 64 secrets, strategies, solutions books, volumes 1 through 4. Looks like they cover a load of games and promise full-color guides with cheats and tips. There are also guides specifically for Banjo-Kazooie. Gotta get all those jiggies and notes, eh? Zelda 64, of course, every secret and strategy for that masterpiece. Lilac Wars, or Star Fox 64 as the Yanks call it, for blasting through Corneria and saving the galaxy. Super Mario 64, for all those stars and secrets in Peach's castle. And Turok 2, for blasting dinosaurs and aliens. Proper shooter, that one. They've even got a guide called The Complete As of 64 Games Volume 4, which sounds like a buyer's guide to the N64 library. Down the bottom they're flogging back issues of 64 magazine, issues 2, 4 and 10, featuring stuff like Star Fox, Blast Corps, Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye, FES S64, and Duke Nukem 64. Classic games, all of them. Looks like you can order by phone, email, internet, fax or post. They even chuck in a free memory card with the Nintendo 64 Gold Guide. Bargain! This page is an advert for subscribing to 64 magazine, and they're really pushing their mega deal. Basically, if you subscribe you get to pick one of 8 top N64 games, plus a strategy guide, and 12 issues of the mag. The games on offer are proper classics: Zelda 64, Turok 2, GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, 1080 Snowboarding, IS Sninty 8, Diddy Kong Racing, and F1 World Grand Prix. Good selection there, something for everyone, eh? Lol. They're also flogging just a regular subscription for 12 issues, and if you go for that you get a free 256k memory card, which is handy for saving your game progress. Prices vary depending if you're in the UK, Europe, or the rest of the world. Down at the bottom they're selling back issues again. This time it's issues 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 and 28. Blimey, that's nearly the whole back catalogue. Looks like you can grab issues featuring Yoshi's Story, Quake, Body Harvest, Ridge Racer, Zelda 64, Star Wars Shadowman and loads more going by the cover images. You can even get hold of issue 10, which has Yoshi's Story on the cover. Each back issue is going for £4.95, including postage. Seems like a good way to fill in any gaps in your collection. The Nindex is a comprehensive guide to Nintendo 64 games reviewed, featuring scores and brief comments for quick comparisons. A key explains the symbols used, indicating features like multiplayer, memory usage, and UK release status. The guide lists games from 1080 Snowboarding, 82%, to Cruisin' USA, 22%, highlighting scores like Banjo-Kazooie's 95%, and Clay Fighter 63 and a third S abysmal 8%. Our top 10 games are Zelda, GoldenEye, and others. The genre breakdown reveals sports games as the most reviewed, 37 games, 71% average, followed by racers, 33 games, 70% average. Shoot 'em ups average 73%, while beat 'em ups score a lower 62%. The N64 is strong in sports and racing, with a reputation for cutesy titles. Games scoring 90% plus are well worth buying, and 95% plus are absolutely must-own. This Nindex review section covers Nintendo 64 games across various genres. In shoot 'em ups, GoldenEye and Star Wars, Rogue Squadron lead with 95% and 92% respectively. Fighting games are dominated by Smash Bros. At 87%, with WWF Warzone and Mortal Kombat 4 close behind. Zelda, Ocarina of Time shines in adventure games at 96%. Platform games are topped by Banjo-Kazooie, 95%, and Super Mario 64, 92%. The Test of Time section revisits games. Is 98 remains strong at 95%. Buck Bumble improves to 82%, while Cruisin' World plummets to 23%. Recommended accessories include the official Nintendo controller, the Grand Prix racing wheel, the Datal 4MB memory card, and the Ultra Racer 64 steering wheel. This page is packed with the Nindex game reviews, starting with the top racing games. F1 World Grand Prix leads the pack with a 94%, Beetle Adventure Racing and Micro Machines 64 Turbo follow closely behind. They've also got sports games covered. IS-98 is top dog there with a stonking 95%, with ISS 64 and FIFA 99 snapping at its heels. Moving on to party and puzzle games, Bust-A-Move 2 and 3DX are right at the top. For strategy and simulation, Blast Corps is number 1, Sigsby. The Mag's Most Wanted section is hyping up Perfect Dark, Quake 2, Rayman 2, Harrier 2001 and Shadow Man as the games to look out for. There's a bit about the expansion pack, saying it's worth getting to boost your N64's performance, and listing a load of games that are already out and take advantage of it, like Star Wars, Rogue Squadron and Vigilante 8. And finally, a coming soon list teases even more games on the horizon. Madden NFL 2000, Perfect Dark and Quake 2 are in there amongst loads more. Issue 30 of the magazine, with a cover proclaiming Dead Hard, hits stores August 12th. It previews Quake 2, WWF Attitude, Rainbow Six, and more. Inside, stuff details are listed. A special reserve Join the Club advertisement offers memberships for £6.99 a year, including 10 magazines and cheat codes. The right side features a sale on Nintendo 64 games and extras, with bundles like Nintendo 64 plus GoldenEye under £100. Discounts are offered on various N64 titles and accessories. A £2 less special reserve discount, and a sign-up form encourage membership. Finally, a Reserve Your Copy Today section and a free gifts offer for special reserve members promote subscriptions, along with a UKGames.com advert.